All right, welcome back. As we await a possible Trump indictment here in New York, a closer look at the hyper-partisan investigators in this case. Manhattan's DA Alvin Bragg, who took $1 million from George Soros's Color of Change PAC while running for office in 2021, has, of course, fully embraced the policies that are killing law and order and quality of life in New York and this entire country, if we're going to be honest. Inspired by Soros, of course, Bragg believes criminals are the real victims, has a clear disdain for the rest of us. You recall the story of the bodega worker Jose Alba, a story we covered a lot on this show. Charged by Alvin Bragg with murder and thrown in Rikers Island after defending himself in his own bodega against a violent crook who attacked him. The charges were only dropped against Alba after immense public scrutiny. Bragg also frequently downgrades felony charges to misdemeanors against drug dealers and violent offenders. But of course, in the case of President Trump, the charges are going the other way. Former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani joins us now with more on that. Sir, good to have you on. What was your reaction when you heard that Alvin Bragg intended to indict Donald Trump?
I felt that it was the final straw that proves that the Biden administration and the Democrats have completely corrupted our justice system and turned it into something more akin to the justice system you would see in a fascist state. The reality is, when you can do politically motivated prosecutions, that is really actually one of the great signs of the downfall of a civilization. Yeah. Not to mention the end of a democracy. And the reality is, you have to be a fool not to see that this is a political prosecution. I mean, Hunter Biden's walking around free as a lark. Joe Biden's walking around free as a lark. And I've got sitting in my library about 50 federal crimes committed by them, including racketeering crimes. And also, not only that, the real suggestion that they sold out to an enemy of the United States.
Right.
I mean, it's not just bribes. They took bribes from China. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
And it's laid out. It's laid out perfectly by James Comer. I mean, we see the evidence. We have it. You know, we show the documents that show the wire transfer millions of dollars from China to the Biden family. There's no reason to give them that money. And this is not investments in a fund or something like that. This is straight into their accounts. This is an injection of cash into the personal accounts of these people from China.
And there's no doubt it went to Joe. That's the one thing that Comer hasn't been clear on. There's a text in which Hunter Biden specifically and unequivocally says that for 30 years, 50% of that money went to his father. That's in the writing of Hunter Biden, which in a criminal trial would be an admissible as an exception to the hearsay rule, and among the most powerful evidence a prosecutor could ever have of a conspiracy. You rarely get such a tight definition of a conspiracy. I surely have convicted many people with a lot less than that. Well, and then you compare that to this. The underlying alleged crime is a campaign finance violation, which a majority of commissioners, professors, lawyers think isn't a crime. Because the violation is that she was paid to keep quiet to help his campaign. But when there's another reason for the payment other than politics, like a personal reason, then that prevails. So the personal reason here is to protect your reputation, to protect your wife, to protect your kids. Whether true or false, these payments are made. Right. There are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of non-disclosure agreements just in Manhattan. Yeah. As a practicing lawyer, I can't tell you in how many cases I executed them on one side or another, unless Bragg probably has never been a practicing lawyer. He really is an ideologue, not a lawyer. Right. A communist ideologue, I think. Yeah. And he probably isn't familiar with that, but
I want to.
I mean, if you haven't executed a non-disclosure agreement, you probably haven't done any heavy litigation in the United States.
Right. I want to talk about Michael Cohen here for a second. He was on MSNBC over the weekend. He laid out what this is really about. And it seems like to him it's about revenge. Take a listen to this.
No one is above the law. So if it was good enough for me to go, it should be good enough for him. Now they could attack me and talk about credibility, which is something that you're seeing on a lot of the other stations. That's okay. Very much like when I went and I testified before the House Oversight Committee, I come with the facts.
So, you know, one thing I know, I come with the facts, he says, one thing I noticed that there's a lot of people like Michael Cohen, there's a lot of people involved in this that have a clear agenda against Donald Trump. That have had, I mean, I remember back to the Letitia James comments when she was running. I mean, she would literally, her whole purpose of her whole being was to get Trump. I think Alvin Bragg's the same way. Doesn't that destroy the case?
Do you realize what we just watched? We just watched probably two of the biggest con men over the last 50 years in New York talking.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if those guys have ever told the truth about anything.
Right.
I mean, Michael Cohen got thrown out of the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York for being a perpetual liar.
It's quite a story, and the question is that whether or not this indictment actually happens. We'll have to wait and see on that one.
I hope not.
Yeah. Mayor, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Good to see you again.